Some cases, they're solved with a mountain of evidence. DNA, witnesses, the whole shebang. Others, just pure dumb luck. But this one comes down to a single tiny slice of time. So today, we're opening the case file on what's known as the 11-minute left turn. I mean, really, think about it. How does a regular guy, a husband, a dad, someone with a totally predictable routine, how does he just drive away from his house one morning and vanish into thin air in broad daylight? It's the kind of question that keeps detectives up at night. Well, the answer didn't come from knocking on doors or from any of the early leads. No, the key that broke this whole thing wide open was found 14 months after the fact. It was buried in an old shoebox on a single, almost missed frame of film. Okay, so to really get what happened here, we're going to walk through this case file together, step by step. We'll start with that one incriminating image. Then we'll trace the connection to the suspects. We're going to zero in on those missing minutes, unmask the man in the shadows, and finally, we'll talk about why a guilty verdict doesn't always mean peace. All right, let's start with the one thing that changed everything. For 14 long months, Nathan Cole's disappearance was a complete dead end. I mean, the case was cold, the file was just collecting dust, hope was seriously fading. The break came from a place you'd never expect, a totally unrelated fraud investigation. While searching a suspect's apartment, investigators stumbled on this: a disposable camera. Basically trash, right? But procedure is procedure. You process everything. And on that roll of film, they found the one thing that held the entire case together. And really, most of the photos on that camera, total junk. I'm talking blurry shots, a picture of a cat, a half-eaten sandwich, just garbage. But then, they hit frame number 17, and boom, there it was, a gray Honda Civic sitting on this empty, desolate street. They could even make out part of the license plate. It was Nathan Cole's car. And the photo was taken the morning he disappeared. After 14 months of nothing, they finally had something. So, having a photo is a huge step, but you've got to connect it to a person. And this is where the real forensic trail begins. The part where detectives link that single image directly to the men who were responsible. And the process was just pure old-fashioned police work. The apartment, and by extension the camera, belonged to a guy named Victor Slade, a career criminal. So they searched Slade's car, and what do they find? A burner phone. When detectives pulled the call logs from that phone, they hit the jackpot. A 4-minute call came in at 8:17 a.m. on the exact morning Nathan vanished. It was a perfect match to the last call Nathan Cole ever made. So, who are these guys? On one hand, you've got Nathan Cole, an accountant, a dad, a guy with a quiet life, and, as far as anyone knew, not an enemy in the world. And on the other side, Victor Slade, a career criminal, the kind of guy who uses burner phones and, apparently, takes pictures of his crimes. These two were from completely different worlds. The big question was, how on earth did those worlds collide? To figure that out, we have to rewind. We've got to go back to the day Nathan disappeared and reconstruct his final moments. Because when you're looking at a crime like this, every single second counts. Okay, so let's walk through this minute by minute. 7:43 a.m., Nathan leaves his house, just like any other day. 8:17 a.m., he makes that 4-minute call, the one to the burner phone. And then he does something he never does. He hangs a left onto a street with absolutely no cameras, a total blind spot. And for the next 11 minutes, poof, he's off the grid. At 8:28, his car pops back up on a camera entering a shopping center parking lot. Then just 3 minutes later, his phone goes dark. And get this, the battery didn't die. Someone deliberately powered it off. Everything happened in that gap. 11 minutes. That number right there, that's the whole case. It's the amount of time it took for a man to be intercepted, for his car to be stolen and moved, and for his entire life to just be erased. Just 11 minutes. So that became the question that drove the entire rest of the investigation. What happened on that street? They knew from photograph 17 that Victor Slade was there, but they also knew he wasn't smart enough to pull this off alone. So, who was pulling the strings? Now that they had Victor Slade in custody, the investigation took a hard turn. Slade was obviously the muscle, but he wasn't the motive. Detectives had to figure out who hired him. They had to find the man in the shadows. And the motive, once they found it, was depressingly simple: greed. As they dug into Nathan's life, investigators learned that just a few weeks before he disappeared, he told a friend he'd found something unsettling at work. That something turned out to be proof that his own boss, a senior partner named Robert Finch, was stealing millions from clients. Nathan was just an honest guy trying to figure out what to do next, but Finch, well, he made the decision for him. So there you have it, the whole ugly picture. The victim, Nathan Cole, an accountant who was just trying to do the right thing. The muscle, Victor Slade, hired to make a problem disappear. And the mastermind, Robert Finch, the senior partner who was willing to kill to keep his secret. It didn't take long for Slade to talk, and soon enough, Finch was in cuffs. The trials that followed ended with convictions. And so, in the eyes of the law, the case was officially closed. But for Nathan Cole's family, a verdict isn't the same thing as an ending, not even close. And the sentences were heavy. Victor Slade got 18 years for his role in the kidnapping and murder. Robert Finch, the man who ordered it all, he was sentenced to life in prison with no chance of parole. So, legal justice was served. But with both of those men locked away, a different kind of silence fell over the case. Because Slade and Finch were the only two people alive who held the one piece of information Nathan's family so desperately needed, and they weren't talking. After the verdict, a reporter asked Nathan's wife how she felt, and her answer, it just cuts right to the bone. The trial was over, but her ordeal wasn't. The men who did this were in prison, but she still didn't have a place to go to say goodbye to her husband. And that's really the question that this case leaves you with. Victor Slade got a long sentence. Robert Finch will die in prison. On paper, the system worked, but Nathan Cole's body has never been found. It's just a stark reminder that justice doesn't always bring peace. So you have to ask yourself, how does a family ever find closure when the final answer is locked away forever?